all, Arne, if we check on Curtis Jones, what's the latest regarding the injury pickup against Liverpool?
Yeah, he went out during half time. So that's mostly not a good sign, and it wasn't because he will not be available for the game tomorrow. And yeah, the rest we have to wait and see how long it's going to take. I'm not expecting months, of course, or not of course, but I'm not expecting months. But let's see if he's available for PSV or Bournemouth.
Konate also told us in the week that he's playing through pain at the moment with his knee not fully recovered from it. What concerns do you have over that? How you're managing that day to day?
I think you've seen how we try to manage that. I think we skipped him twice, didn't we? Or at least in this game, Jarell played, and the Accrington Stanley game he didn't play as well. So that is a bit maybe because he has still some pain of his knee. Don't exaggerate it, but he probably feels a bit. But it's safe for him to play. But it's more the load where you're aware of if a player is out for 5 or 6 weeks and then play him every 3 days. That's in our opinion a certain risk. So we always try to manage that, and I think he now comes to a moment where he would be able to play 3 times a week.
Ipswich was your first game in charge. I think back then there wasn't the expectation that you were going to win the Premier League. I think certainly outside the club there seems to be the expectation now that Liverpool are going to win the Premier League this season. So what difference do you see in your side now compared to that first game against Ipswich, if any at all?
No, not a lot, but the fact was that I only worked with 13 to 14 players for 1.5 weeks back then. So there's not been said about sometimes how difficult it is to come in the middle of a season and try to work with a new team with the schedule we are having. But to be fair, it maybe felt a bit the same for me because 12, 13, 14 players came in 1.5 weeks before the start of the season, and from that moment on we only played games. So it's normal, I think, that we've improved compared to that game. Although especially the second half performance was something that was quite similar to the performances I see currently.
With that in mind, how much do you think Ipswich will be a different proposition now that they've gotten used to life in this league a little bit and taken some big points off some top teams?
Yeah, they've done, and they've been a bit unlucky sometimes in the last moments of games. I think I've said this a few times recently that second half of the season is always more difficult than the first half because some teams strengthen themselves during the winter break. Some teams, of all the teams, not all of them, but many teams work with their manager for half a season, and that normally leads to that a team becomes better. And that's definitely the situation also for Ipswich, although they've made it really difficult for us already in the first game of the season. But I think it's fair to say that they've improved during the first half year. And that is also a compliment to Kieran McKenna, that he already made it really difficult for us in the first game. But I think the few games afterwards was more difficult for them. But then at a certain point they've become a very good team that makes it difficult for every team, except maybe their last game, which was an exception to the rule. And maybe that was because City was City again.
A word that keeps getting repeated again and again in comments about your performances, particularly the one against Lille, was professional. Is that a word that you like to hear when people talk about your teams? Is that something that you'd like to judge yourself on?
It's better than that they call us amateurs. Yeah, I think you guys, not till now, it hasn't been asked yet, but the amount of question I get about Mo and how would you describe him, so it's every time you have to find a new word or say something new again, or try to come up with something new. That's a bit similar to what we are doing. So because we're doing so well, many people talk about us, and it's difficult to every time come up with something new. Now, it's been exciting, probably. It's been all kind of words has been used, and at the moment, if I listen to you, the word professional is there. I don't exactly know what that might mean then. Does this mean that we are controlling the game, or okay, yeah.
Doing everything very business-like, no errors anywhere.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if it's meant positive or negative. What I see is that we've got a lot of ball possession, that we dominate and control every single game. In every single game, we've got more chances than the other team. In every game, we deserve to win, or if we don't win, we would have deserved it. Except for one game, maybe, and I've said it many times. That was the Chelsea game, where maybe a draw would have been more fair. But in every other game we've played, I think we were the dominant team. Not because we go into a low block and kick every ball forward, because of a certain style. And yeah, it's up to anyone how you would describe that style. Professional, yeah, okay.
It's a compliment.
Yeah, that's a good thing then.
Given Harvey Elliott has said this is his club, he wants to stay, and his recent performances, how close is he to starting, and what does he have to do?
Keep bringing performances in like he did, and keep working as hard on the training ground as he's doing as well. And I always say to the players, it's not only about you, it's also about the competition you are in. And in his situation, he's in competition with 5 very good midfielders that you know, and there are a few youngsters coming through that are very talented as well, but they are not close to playing time yet. But he's in competition with Wata, with Ryan, with Curtis, with Maka, and with and himself. So these are the midfielders we have at the moment. So he has to bring up performances like he does, and then playing time will probably increase. Increase is more, yeah, will increase.
Andy?
Hi, Arne. If Konate spoke about aiming to be better than Virgil van Dijk, how good can he become?
I think he's already very good. It's a centre back that without him even touching the ball, you already feel quite impressive, because he's so strong and tall. I think one of the things he could improve, in my opinion at least, is his play with the ball, bringing the ball out from the back. I would not say he was poor in that, but he could improve. He could go to another level, and I think he works really hard to improve that, and I already see this improvement. Defensively, he's of the highest standard. I think he's fast, he's strong, he wins duels through the air, over the ground. He can cover for his teammates as well if needed. He can play 1v1 with a lot of space in his back. So defensively, there's not a lot he could or can improve. But bringing the ball out from the back, which is not his single job, it's also his teammates that he needs for that, was something we've worked on a lot, and we still keep on working a lot. Not only with him, but with the others as well. Because from all the ball possession we have, we would like to create even more chances than we are doing now. And that starts from bringing the ball out from the back.
Carl?
Andy Robertson has been first choice left back for a long time at this club. There's been seems to be a lot of rotation in that position this season. Is that just managing workload, or is it a sign that Costas' level is starting to improve and try to use more competition?
I think both. If Costas was on a completely different level than Robbo, then it would not be smart to rotate in that position or manage the load, because then you drop so far in quality that could be a risk. But I don't know what Costas' situation was last season. Yeah, I know that he didn't play a lot, but I don't know where he was at which level. But from the moment I came in our tour in the United States, he did really well. So he's proved that he can play in the left full back position as well. And since we've got now 2 good options, in my opinion, you indeed see that we are managing loads and rotate in that position quite a bit. Yes, that's true.
Hi Arne. When Ipswich went to the Emirates earlier this season, Arsenal ended up with 84% possession in the first half. You've spoken just now about the idea of wanting to turn more possession into chances. When a team is so happy to surrender the ball, what's the key to doing that, putting them under pressure by actually having attempts on goal?
Yeah, that's not always easy. My former club Feyenoord played during the week against Bayern Munich, and no one would have expected that result. But it also shows you, I think Bayern had 80% ball possession, how difficult it is against a low block. If a low block works that hard, as Feyenoord did, and Ipswich did as well, to create chance after chance after chance. I think you also see this in back in the days when my assistant John Heitinga played for the Dutch national team, when they then played Gibraltar, or not to compare Feyenoord or Ipswich with Gibraltar, but even lower level like Gibraltar, if they went to a low block it was 10-0. But if these teams do it now, it ends up being 4-0, 3-0, so you don't see these results with such a big margin, with the exception of City last week then. But I don't think Ipswich went to a low block constantly in that game. So it shows you how difficult it is if players are well trained, well managed, and play with a lot of intensity and willingness not to concede. How difficult it is to score goals against any team in the world, let alone against a Premier League team. I think we faced this against United. We faced this against Forest. We faced it a bit against against Brentford as well. These low blocks. So yeah, it's difficult for every single team everywhere in Europe. That's.
So do you think this might be a day where we have to be, and I say we, I mean the team and the fans, have to be a bit more patient? You mentioned the game against Man City where obviously it was a big score. Do you think there's a danger some people might come into it thinking, well, that's going to be the same again?
No, that is difficult for fans, and my father is a fan as well, and when I call him after the game he can also say, it wasn't as exciting as other games of Liverpool when he watched the game against Lille. And then I have to try to explain him that these games you can easily lose if you are starting to force all kind of difficult balls. But he's not always agreeing with me then. But as a manager, I was quite happy with our performance against Lille, because they were a team that are so well organized and so much control. And I think there was one moment in the game I can remember that Curtis tried to play it at the halfway line, a bit of a ball that was in a bit of risk, and we lost that ball and they counter-attacked us. So that's the risk you have if you play against a low block team. Forest is probably the best in the league if you play these stupid balls, which I call stupid balls, which my father would love to see us playing a bit more. That is the risk of them creating then much more chances. And there's a difficult balance between taking the risk and conceding a lot, or having control, maybe not create as much. But against this team, going 1-0 down, like we've seen against Forest, is even a bigger problem than if you are, especially against a low block. So it's a balance we have to find, and I can understand that it's sometimes difficult for fans as well that come to the stadium to see us winning, but hopefully us scoring a lot of goals and an exciting match. And but yeah, you need two teams for that, and the better we do, the less likely it is that teams come to Anfield and say, okay, let's go to a high press and let's press them all over the pitch.